So we're getting ready to put in a double welt for a welt pocket. And I have my piece that will make both of the welts. It's interfaced. It's 3 inches by 8 inches wide. And then here's my garment. And I've got the slash line for my pocket opening marked with some red thread. That's 5 inches for the opening. And I'm interfaced back here as well. I put the interfacing on before I did my stitch so that I wasn't fusing on those stitches. So really the first thing to do is press this welt piece. And so what we're going for is essentially this, where the center is an inch, maybe like a healthy inch. So whether you use a jig or a ruler, or I've got notches to guide me. Okay. So what we need to do is right sides together, align this so that the center is right there on our opening. I put them up there. And so if you need to make additional marks, go ahead. Preferably just with thread. And I'm going to stitch 1/4 of an inch from each of these folded edges, making sure when I do each side that I'm only going through 2 layers of welt and the 1 layer of garment fabric, green in this case. And where I start and stop my stitches should be hitting this red line right here and there. And it's important that both rows of stitching are exactly the same length. Okay. So right there, that little bit of red thread is just not quite peeking out for me. I'm going to get this other pin out of the way. Maybe I'll just shove it there. Back stitch, normal stitch length. Okay. One down. One to go. Keep that out of the way. Now we're doing this one. And I just made that one leg too short, didn't I? We're wanting these stitches, if I can kind of get it so that you can see, they should be starting right at the same spot. I'm feeling like I need to jump 1/16 of an inch that away. some people will even count the stitches, but on something this long, I don't do that. If I were doing the same kind of technique for a bound buttonhole, I would count the stitches, because that would probably only be 12 to 15 stitches. Okay. Now, I'll press this just to set these stitches. To cut my opening, I'm going to actually do it from the back side so that maybe you see a little bit better. I'll cut pretty much along my red line here until I get to 1/2 inch, 3/4 or so from each end. Then I'm going to make Y's, kind of. So you don't want to cut straight all the way down. So if I remove my red stitching here, I'm only going to cut straight that much, and then I'm going off at an angle. And what I want to do is clip right to those stitches that I just made. So I'm clipping through the green fabric, the garment, and the one layer of the welt. So just work a little to keep these seam allowances out of your way. I'll go back this way. And then from this side, you can see, hopefully, I'm about to go right to that edge, right to that last stitch. Okay, now we should be able to turn everybody in and with some adjustments press, and we'll have our opening. So come back here and get these guys pressed nicely. Same thing on this side. That'll help everybody fall better. What we're looking for in the perfect world are little welts, our little lips will come right together and meet, and they'll be evenly spaced. You know, the opening will be right in the center. A little more pressing might make these guys. See, I can press a little there, can't I? So I can probably do the same thing. Pressing a little more. There. So I've got a pocket bag here. It's 12 inches along the straight grain by about 7.5 wide. It's going to end up, you know, kind of like this behind our welt. The top one will be our second seam. So this is our first one, the lower welt. So join this edge to your lower welt here. Do a 1/2 inch seam. This guy folds up and meets the top. Make sure you're staying, you know, aligned. You don't want to be kind of pulled over to one side there. Okay, now you'll see sometimes where this area right back here is faced with our good fabric, so that if there were any peekaboos, you would only see the good fabric. We're not quite done because we have to close up the edges of our pocket, and while we do that, we're going to catch these little triangles that we made when we made our Y clips. So you'll see that we're going to end up much narrower. So we just like open it up here, pull those triangles out, and you can stitch around our entire pocket. Obviously, since I have the fold at the bottom, no need to come across the bottom. But if it was shaped, you could just keep on going around. Make sure these guys are good. Okay, so those are now caught, which is good. They won't kind of flip out here. And there we have some welts with a pocket bag. We could come and serge along these edges now if it was going to be visible, not lined or anything.